Large corporations are making potentially billions of dollars by purposefully making inferior controllers. These are all scams. Manufacturers are making controllers with inferior parts on purpose so you'll be more likely to buy a new one and throw your old one away. But are they really doing this? And why would they? Let me show you. But before I do need to make the disclaimer that this video is based on my experience and with unverifiable numbers. The numbers I'm about to show you are based on the number of consoles sold and the assumption that every console owner has purchased one additional controller. I don't know about you, but I've purchased a lot more than one additional controller, but I wanted to stay a little conservative on the numbers since they are unverifiable. So in the last 10 years, Nintendo has sold about 152 million units of game consoles. These numbers are based on the last 10 years. If Nintendo sells one set of controllers for every console sold, and a set of Joy-Cons is $70, they make $10 billion in extra revenue. If Sony sold one extra controller for each of the 194 million units of their game consoles sold in the last 10 years at $60, they would make almost $12 billion. Microsoft comes in at $5 billion, but a total for these top three game console manufacturers is $27 billion. So why are they making inferior controllers? I think it's pretty obvious. But what's so inferior about these controllers anyway? This is one of Sony's most recent releases of a limited edition DualSense controller. It's the Last of Us edition. Let's open it up, and I want to show you something on the inside. I've got to say, this is a really cool looking controller. As a side note, I love these white thumbsticks. I think they look amazing. I would never actually use this very long though. These things are gonna get dirty in about 30 seconds. So these are the analog sticks. Let me show you what's inside. Now we can actually open up this potentiometer right here and look at the inside and see how it works. As I'm sure you already know, the analog stick is what makes your character move. So you can see when we press it this way or this way, that little pin, that little red pin moves back and forth, and that makes this little white disc move back and forth like this. What's under that little white disc are these little silver wipers that correspond to these carbon tracks on this potentiometer. Let's get under a microscope and I'll show you even better what's going on. This is a very similar analog stick made exactly the same way. It's not that exact stick from that controller, but this is the little potentiometer I was showing you. This little black thing is that same disc. And right here is the metal wiper. The metal wiper goes right along this carbon track. As it goes along these carbon tracks, it changes the resistance, and that's how your controller knows where your character should be positioned. The major problem with these carbon tracks is shown right here. They can wear down just like this one did. You can see there's just a bunch of it on the edge here, and there's really not much left right here. This is the main problem with these type of analog sticks. Manufacturers know this, and they know those carbon tracks are a problem, yet they still continue putting the same type of analog sticks in these brand new controllers. Once again, this is one of the newest controllers that Sony sells. And as I showed, it has analog sticks with carbon traces. But what about the Switch 2 Joy-Cons? Surely they would use better analog sticks. Let's take a look. Now, as you might already know, Nintendo and even Sony were both hit with class action lawsuits over these analog sticks that they keep putting in their controllers. As far as I know, those lawsuits were dismissed for undisclosed reasons, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a major problem for these controller manufacturers. While we're on the subject of Nintendo, I do actually have to give them some credit because they will take old Joy-Cons and replace the analog sticks for free, even if they're outside of the warranty. While in my opinion that's not the best solution, that certainly is a solution, and at least they are somewhat trying to take care of their customers. Here's the analog stick off of the brand new Nintendo Switch 2. Let's look at this under the microscope and see what kind of analog stick they're using. If we take off this bottom metal cover, this just opens right up and we can see that they are using the exact same carbon traces for their analog sticks. And again, over time, these will literally just wear out. If you use your controller about 2 hours a day, these will likely last about 4 to 6 months. So those old style analog sticks with the carbon traces are clearly not the answer, but what is the answer? These. For less than $3 each, and this is from Amazon. If you go to AliExpress or other Chinese sellers, you can get them for less than $3 each. You can buy Hall Effect or TMR joysticks. The great thing about these is they don't use any mechanical connections. Let me show you the inside. Are you ready for this? This is the inside of a Hall Effect joystick. No mechanical connection at all. On this side, we simply have a magnet, and that magnet just moves when you move the joystick. On this side, we just have a sensor that senses the position of this magnet. So instead of carbon traces that wear out over time, we have a magnet and a sensor, and that's it. So why would these companies not use Hall Effect or TMR analog stick sensors? With the billions of dollars they make off of extra controller sales, I would have to be convinced that it's not simply just for pure profit. I think most people, when they have a serious stick drift issue, they just toss the controller and go buy another one, and that's profit directly into the pockets of these large corporations. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of good ways to hold these manufacturers accountable, but one thing we can do as DIYers is buy these cheap replacements that last basically forever and replace them ourselves. Here's how to do it. They actually make a special soldering iron tip just for this. This tip matches perfectly the pins on these analog sticks. So all we have to do once this is hot is put it right down onto the analog stick solder joints, and then the old analog stick will just drop right out and we can push the new one right up in. While it does take some soldering know-how, this makes it easier for more people to be able to do this job. Once our iron is hot enough, I need to verify that this is the correct orientation, and it is. So then all we have to do is bring it down and make sure we're lined up on the right places, wiggle it around a little bit, make sure all that solder is getting melted at the same time. Takes a little bit of time. Once the solder is hot enough, analog stick just pulls right out. Then we take the new one and push it right back up into those same holes. Just like that. And then we need to flux up all these joints on the other side and just do the exact same thing. One stick out and the replacement in. Just like that. Now I am going to come back through and hand solder some of these joints. Some of the joints could use more solder, but this process takes so much less time. I would say that replacing these without that special soldering iron tip, it's probably like a, I don't know, 20-minute job? Maybe less, you know, if you get lucky. Maybe we can get down to 10 minutes. With that soldering iron tip, it literally takes like a minute. And I am hand resoldering these, you know, so I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. By the way, I'm going to leave a link to everything in this video today down in the description, including that soldering iron tip. So if you want to do this, or if you want to start doing this as a business, then you have all the resources you need to do that. That's also a way to help these controllers last longer, is start a service doing this for other people. And there we go. We got them all cleaned up, and this PS5 controller has now been upgraded to sticks that Sony should have used in the first place. I do need to say that when you replace analog sticks, a lot of times you do need to go online and calibrate them, so that is something I may need to do with this controller. The nice thing about Joy-Cons is that you can actually replace them with no soldering required. They don't make Hall Effect or TMR for the Switch 2 yet, but I'm sure they will very soon, and once they do, I'll make sure there's a link in the description. But essentially, these are just plug and play. You drop it in, plug it into the board, reassemble it, and you're ready to go. Now, one of the reasons Nintendo might have decided to not go with Hall effect sticks on the Switch 2 is because these are magnetic. They connect to the tablet magnetically, so that magnet could interfere with the Hall effect sticks. But I have heard that TMR sticks are less likely to get magnetic interference, so I think that probably is still an option. Only time will tell once third-party manufacturers start manufacturing replacement Hall effect and TMR sticks for the Switch 2. So you tell me, is there something I'm missing? Or are controller sales just one big scam for big corporations to make billions more dollars? If you want to see a video where I got scammed by one of my own viewers, I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there and see how I was scammed. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.